What's going on, everybody? My name's Christian Robert, and on this channel we talk stocks, personal finance, wealth building, real estate, you name it, we talk it financially. And today I wanted to touch on a topic that I've been seeing other YouTubers talk about recently, and that is about Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, he has recently made some bold statements as far as real estate or purchasing a home, and I wanted to touch on that a little bit because I feel like I offer a good perspective on things. Now, for starters, if you don't know who Gary Vee is, I don't know how that's possible, but he's a serial entrepreneur. He's pretty well known for taking his dad's wine business and really just blowing it up and making it tons of money. And now he's getting into a bunch of modern day media. He owns Vaynerchuk and a bunch of other things. He one day wants to own the Jets. Now, I just want to jump into the statements, some of the statements he has made. And I wrote it out like this on purpose because I have seen a lot of YouTubers talk about this, but they give it no context. So let's just read it blank. So he says, "I do not think the American dream should be buying a home anymore. It's full of shit. It's a bad use of upfront capital. It ties you up, and it's just not smart. What is it for? I am pissed I own a home. I would literally rent in perpetuity." Now, reading it like this with no context, it sounds very negative and very, anti you should ever buy a home. But of course, I took a deeper look and found context. So I went on his website and I found this article. I'm going to link this article in the description below if you want to read the full thing, but he starts off saying he wanted to create some context and clarity for his point of view. He talks about why the American dream is vulnerable. He says buying a home might have been a great idea for most people decades ago, back in the 50s and 60s. Problem is, it's 2019 now. Things are not the same. You can't prove home ownership to others. If you're driving a Lamborghini, you're signaling a lot of things about yourself to other people, and people love doing that for a variety of reasons. With a home, other people have no idea whether you rent or own that house. People don't know if you have a mortgage on the property or if you're just paying rent. So that's a pretty valid point. You can live in a nicer place if you rent. Even if it is a better investment to own a home over the long term, it's human nature to keep up with the Joneses. It's human nature to want to peacock and prove their worth to other people, and staying in a fancier place is one way to do that. Talks about student loans are going to tear down the economy. But the main point of this is if you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s and you're entrepreneurially minded like I am, I don't think the best strategy for you is to buy a home. We live in a culture now where it's normal to liquidate most of all of your net worth to put a down payment on a home. Instead of that, I believe more entrepreneurs should continue renting for longer and use that upfront capital to go on offense in their business. There are just much better ways to use that money instead of putting it towards a down payment if you're an entrepreneur. That is the main takeaway of this. If you rent instead of buy, you could take that $20,000 to $200,000 of a down payment to work on ads in your business. I'm not going to get into all this, but I'm not saying that no one should buy a home or that buying a home is a bad investment. It could very well be a great investment. I also don't think that my opinion on what a small percentage of Americans should do with their money would impact the value I always try to bring to realtors and agents in the real estate industry. So that gives his opinions and his statements much more context. So the deeper meaning is that for entrepreneurs only does this message apply. And I completely agree with what he's saying. Even though I am a homeowner, I just built my first house for my family, I completely agree with everything that he says. Growing up, I remember asking my dad what his American dream was, and he always told me when he came to this country, it was always, to get a house, to have the family, and it was always, everybody always talked about their American dream was to own their house. But we are open to so many more opportunities in this day and age with money, and so many more ways that we can grow our money, whether it be investing for free like on Robinhood, getting rental properties. We're exposed to so many more things now. And if you have the money and you have the entrepreneur mind like he does, then you should absolutely capitalize and use that money to grow whatever you're trying to grow. Because once you put that equity into the house, you're not going to see that money for a very long time. Now, obviously, you could take out loans against your house, which I would never recommend, but there's always ways you could pull out money from your house. But you really need to sit down and ask yourself what your goals are. Now, we could take this conversation a whole bunch of ways, but even as an entrepreneur, if you live in an area around here where I'm at, say Michigan, you could get a little house for $100K. It won't be brand new, but even if you're an entrepreneur trying to grow your business, I mean, you could get an FHA loan and put $3,000 to $7,000 down with all the closing costs and everything. So that's not really setting you back a whole lot with upfront capital, and at least you're paying down your mortgage, you're building wealth through that while you focus on your business with the rest of the money. So this is really more towards people who have a large sum of money sitting on the sidelines. So I could play both sides of this because I put $100,000 of cash into my own house. I can sit here and say, I put a lot of money towards my house. I don't owe nearly as much money, so I will be able to pay my house faster. I will be able to pay off my house a lot faster and grow wealth through that sense. But the other side of me, and I think about it all the time, is I could have used that money, put it towards my business, put it towards stocks and grow those dividends or this or that. But as a family man, as somebody who has children, my priorities were to get a house for me and my family, to get it paid off. And not just that, but I'm going to use my personal home as a wealth building tool, which I don't think a lot of people talk about. I'm going to do a separate video on this, but people get so emotionally attached in their home, and I think that takes a lot of money off the table when you're so attached to the place you live. Yes, I'm extremely attached to my house, but as a builder and as someone who, builds houses to sell, I have a different perspective on this house. I see it for what it is. It's a tool to build wealth. I'm going to live in this house for a very long time, but this is not my forever home. And the whole concept of a forever home is really silly in my opinion. I'm going to use this house to pay down the loan, get a bigger house, build a bigger house, keep paying off the loan. And once I reach a point where I have the biggest house I possibly need, and as I get older, I will downsize the size of my house. And that's when you start pulling out all that equity, because you're scaling back down, and then you can take all that money out as your homes appreciate over the years, and you can put it towards investments, you can put it towards retirement or whatever you want. And so that's really all I have for you guys. It's really about perspective and figuring out what your goals are as far as, home ownership or business wise. So that's all I have for you guys. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.